What's going on? This is Aaron and Marcus, and this is the Living.Fit show. Today, we're talking about building strength versus building muscles. Are they the same?
Are they the same?
Are they the same but different?
Well, according to the internets, they are exactly the same. And if you're big and jacked, then you are automatically super, super strong. But
something, obviously you and I both have a CSCS, and through NSCA, I mean, they highly beg to differ, right? They're always talking about the difference between building muscle, or, you know, they would say hypertrophy, right? Versus strength. And a lot of that for them, you know, it's just this difference between sets and reps and rest, and then what kind of exercise. And then obviously they try to whittle it down to whatever sport that person is training for, but very huge proponents of strength, but they're also huge proponents of hypertrophy, and each has its kind of day in court, so to speak, right? Which I think is a pretty solid perspective and actually fairly simple, really.
it is simple, and it breaks it down so you don't correlate, you know, that if you are big, you're automatically strong, or if you're strong and smaller, like you're not automatically, you know, like you can't get bigger. But it's all going to depend on, you know, the type of muscular engagement, what you're doing, like you said, how you stress your body. You know, that's why we see weightlifters who are lifting insane amounts of weight, and you would never know that they even lift. Like, and even someone like me, who I can lift really heavy kettlebells, doing a lot of stuff, but I'm not huge. I don't know.
I know, I'm huge, so obviously I lift tons of weights. I mean, there was a time in which I was, you know, 240 pounds, so way bigger, and I was also lifting a lot of like really heavy weight at that time. And my goal actually then wasn't necessarily to be a bodybuilder and to get big, and it wasn't. I mean, I want to be big. I want to look good, right? But I wasn't trying. That wasn't my number one goal. My number one goal was like trying to have as much strength as possible, regardless of, and you know, obviously feeding that strength, but regardless of size and how that looked, because you know, I was trying to, you know, in my mind, this was my hypervigilance post-war, right? I was trying to do anything and everything in my power to keep me safe and people around me safe. So it was like, I felt like that was the only way to do it, right, from a body standpoint. And so that's obviously into the psychology of it or whatever. But my lifts looked like mainly strength lifts, like a lot of 5x5s or 3x8s and things like that, where less reps, more sets, really, really heavy loads. But then if you're looking for gaining, you know, muscle or mass, right, you're gonna creep up 8, 10, 12 repetitions.
Yeah, just more volume, more blood flow. I mean, the whole concept, and it's like you can work on strength, and as long as you don't push it to a certain volume, then yes, you are getting denser muscle fibers. But if you are, you know, increasing that blood flow, doing more volume, you're going to increase the overall size. It doesn't necessarily mean like, and this is the thing that I think that bodybuilders get a bad rap, where it's like, oh, it's just about blood flow, it's just about the pump. But I've met some really ridiculously strong bodybuilders who weren't training for strength in the traditional sense. They weren't doing 1 to 3 reps and resting 2-3 minutes like a powerlifter. They were really focused on just getting as much blood flow, building that muscular size, and then the stronger, even in isolation exercises, the stronger elbow flexion they had, the more they could lift. I mean, it definitely didn't make them weaker, we'll say.
Exactly. Yeah, and so a lot of it comes down to, okay, what is your goal, right? Is your goal size? Then you're going to come at it different, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get strong. You might not get as strong as the person whose goal is to get strong, right? You know, the power lifter, or like you said, the weightlifter, the Olympic weightlifters. Man, some of the little guys and the little girls or gals that are
they're warming up with IMAX.
I'm like, wow, they weigh 40 pounds less than me, and they are lifting easily 200 pounds more than my max, right?
But the goal is strength and the skill of that specific strength, which means they don't want a lot of volume. They're not trying to compress their workouts. Their workouts are very, very long. There's lots of rest. There's lots of focus on the skill of that movement. So, what would you, in terms of your goals, like if you were trying to build muscle, would you still maintain like the goal of building strength and then just add more volume, or would you try to go into more of a, pump, which
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the pump too, and I want to, like right now I'm trying to gain about 10 more pounds of lean body mass, right? So I'll be just at that 200 pound mark. Already have gained 5 pounds from 185 to 190, and really I wasn't doing the hypertrophy stuff, but what I found is if I stay in that sort of strength zone, right, that strength phase for too long, then I start to get injuries because I'm staying in that. So then to be able to toggle from, okay, strength and then go into, basically after this, then I'll go into velocity training, which is the weightlifters, right? That's why they can create so much power and lift so much weight is they're using speed as their main, component to be able to do that. And then obviously adjusting their body and learning the finesse of those movements. But I'll go into ballistic work, and then I'll go all the way back to strength endurance and then hypertrophy and then strength. So if I'm just looking at hypertrophy, right, I'm going to toggle into strength, I'm going to toggle into some ballistics, and I'm still going to do a little bit of endurance work because what I have found is if I stay with something for far too long, right, I'll start to accumulate some overuse injuries. Tendon issues or joint issues or things like that. So to be able to do even just subtle adjustments in rep ranges and sets and things like that.
Exactly, just incorporating some different variables with the rep ranges. Even in the same workout week to week, you can add in some strength, you could add in some more traditional hypertrophy. But I think it's when people get so stuck in one thing, and unless you are a power lifter or unless you are a bodybuilder, you don't have to be so specific and say this is the only goal.
Yeah.
Although you look at powerlifters, I haven't seen too many small powerlifters.
No, not very.
Very rarely do I see a small powerlifter. I can see some smaller people lifting heavy weights.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is, the ability to build strength without a lot of size, but again, it's very rare.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and